My guest today on Dateline Abuja is ABIKURE Tega. He is a venture capitalist, a public speaker, a business mentor and coach, the founder KURE Funds, a private equity fund dedicated to African startups, the current CEO, KURE Coins, an employer of labor with over 300 staff, and proudly a Nigerian youth. You're welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Good to be here.
Okay, there's so much. This is your CV is quite impressive, I must say.
Okay.
Looking at Nigeria, can you state out the roles that you have played to contribute to the GDP of Nigeria? Okay,
fantastic. Thank you very much. Good to be here. Well, it's a great country we have, and everyone involved in it somehow contributes to the nation. However, it's the scope and the way you contribute that really matters sometimes. For me, I wouldn't say what I have contributed, but what I have been able to make others contribute as well, because for me, I'm a visionary. So I run projects and get people inclusive, and then together we do great things. I mean, I have known that great things are not built by one man, okay? Great things are usually built by great minds. So it's me bringing out a vision and then getting people to come alongside and then create something big. And that's what I've been able to do with the holding company. And then we have about 30 portfolio companies under it. And it's really amazing that these are enterprising Nigerians, you know. Together, we've been able to create a map not only for the financial sector, for construction, for oil and gas, and then most importantly, which is my recent project, for blockchain, because it's a revolution going around the world, and then we are so excited to be the pioneers in Africa. Okay,
so this blockchain technology, which is of course part of the cryptocurrency, how would you say, who are the class of people who have embraced it and actually doing very well in Nigeria?
Well, in Nigeria, it's the young people. Amazingly, well, in the Western world, because the blockchain, it's a continuation of the internet, and they've been ahead of age already. So when things like this are coming, you see companies like the Oracle, the IBM leading the direction. For Nigeria, there are no blue chip firms already leading the way. So the youths, the young ones, are the ones, driving it. But fortunately, we are driving it from the low scale. But what we have been able to do from KURE Holdings, I've been able to create a project. And this is the first of its kind from Africa. So my contribution really is not to Nigeria, it's actually to Africa as a whole, because the continent has been seen as a dump yard for technology, for finance. So it's what they cannot use, that's what they give to us. But for the very first time, we are creating a project and sending it to the world, and that's what we're doing.
And it's the youth that are doing this?
Of course, yes. As you can see, I am a youth.
Well, now, the comments, we're going to try to analyze this comment that the president made, and we played the video earlier on the show, which he didn't actually say lazy, but in summary, it means lazy. So I would ask, what do you have to say about that comment?
Well, I've been hearing a lot of hype about the comments. For me, publicity is publicity. I think when I saw that, that to me is an advert for the Nigerian youth. I don't see it as, because he just said that Nigeria, with its population, has about 60%, about 30%. Nigeria is one of the few countries in the world that has its population of 60% as youth. That's strength. I mean, if I am a businessman and listening to the president and hearing that, what I will see is opportunity, which means there are young people. If the young people are not educated, which means there's cheap labor. So I don't see that as, that's publicity for me. So for that comment, well, you may be angry if you see it from the side of, well, is he talking to me or is he not talking to me? But when I heard about it, first of all, I'm enterprising, and then I have people around me who are young people, who are enterprising, who are visionaries. So hearing that, I'm like, okay, he's only telling the world what we have. So if you're a business person and you want to cite an industry, for example, the owner of Indomie visited Nigeria once, an Indian visited Nigeria just one time, saw the population of Lagos, and said, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, people look at that same picture of Lagos every day and say, this city is so crowded.
I need to run away.
It depends on what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's a publicity for the Nigerian, and this, for the very first time, would be a time where the whole nation will be discussing the Nigerian youth.
Yes.
And I think it's a good one for us.
Well, but do you think the subject of discussion is actually something we want to be shared in a foreign country?
Yes, it's a good one because, first of all, every problem there's a solution for every problem, and then each time there's a solution for a problem, resources always flow. So, if a problem is identified and is made a national issue, it means that when you provide a solution, your solution becomes a national issue, and then that's more currency for you, because the Nigerian youth is faced with a lot. I mean, the Nigerian youth is the strongest youth on planet Earth because he has a lot against him, yet he's successful. The Nigerian youth is given the wrong education. He comes out, first of all, when...
Sorry, what do you mean by wrong education? Well, did you school in Nigeria?
Yeah, of course I schooled in Nigeria. So okay, I don't want to use myself as an example because...
Can you clarify that?
Yes, why? Because when I started my process, and the moment I made a decision to create wealth and live a great life, I had to go through what I call an IEP, which is an individual educational program. I had to give myself another education. I realized that the education I was given growing up is not sufficient for the kind of life that I wanted. So I had to give myself another education. Now, the Nigerian a Nigerian child comes out of school and from primary to secondary, and is given the impression that the only way he could be successful in life is that he goes through the 4 walls of the university. So that's why you see all of them going through the jam, because that's the only way that has been shown to them as the direction. And then they want to go into school. The universities are not enough for the courses, and then because he's been told that the only way he could live a successful life is to go through the 4 walls, he takes whatever course is given. Yeah. Now he says, I want to study medicine. Well, what's available is zoology. It's botany. Well, because I have to go through the 4 walls, he takes whatever is available.
Yes.
Now he comes out of that, and they say, well, for you to be useful in society, you have to go through NYSC. He goes through 1 year, and for the very first time after NYSC, realizes that all of the things he's had is not enough for the life he wants. But guess what? He now needs to educate himself again, but it's too late, because at this point you already have what I call a collateral poverty, because what it took your parents, your loved ones and your families to get you to where you are, you're already indebted. Yeah. So you have to get a job, not because that's what is going to fund your life, but because you have to pay debt. You have to send money home. You probably have younger ones who needs to go to school. So the Nigerian graduate is indebted to at least a ton of 10 million. Is an expensive debt. That's why the bank doesn't want to fund him. And that's why he can't get funding from any financial institutions who could give money, because he's already a bad debt. He has backlog. And then the future he wants, the education he's been given cannot provide it. So he's frustrated for the next 10 years of his life trying to find his feet. So, but in spite of this, we've had the ones who's been successful in music. We've had the ones who are successful in sport. But guess what? Even these areas that are being successful, most of them, that's why they strive to go out of the country to be able to find their footings, because the sport is not open. If I want to be a professional sportsman, I don't need the 4 walls of the university. Yeah. It's a waste of time. I just have to come out from my secondary school and go to an academy and become a superstar. So, but the system has pushed me there, wasted part of my life, and then I'm indebted, so I have to pay bills. So the young man sees an opportunity in the other world, maybe in the Western world. When a guy comes out of school, the first thing he's looking for is a mentor. Who's going to mentor me? Who's the role model that I'm going to serve, upon which I can create a life? But the Nigerian youth does not have that luxury because he has debt to pay. So he's looking for a job that's going to pay him well. And guess what? He thinks he wants to pay the bills before he starts life. But before you know it, it's 15 years and he's still paying debt. And guess what? In the process of paying the backlog, he's incurring new debt because he has to marry a wife. Yeah. He has to get new kids. He has to buy a car. So for the next 30 years of his life, he's paying debt. And by then, he's already too late because he has new ones he has to raise. Well,
can you? I know that you've been successful, of course, with your profile and all that in your career. What have been your challenges as a youth to come this far?
Okay, for me, if you listen to what I said about the statement the president made, you'd realize that I see things from another perspective. So my challenge that I've had, as being the reason I become successful. So I don't know, usually people want to point challenges, and then these are the things that held me back. But my challenges were the things that made me move forward.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but I understand your challenges actually pushed you.
Yes, they actually pushed me.
Good. But what are they? Okay,
fantastic. One of the first challenge that I've had is the fact that because I've looked at the internet during the internet boom. I'm speaking now on my current project. I looked at the internet boom. I realized that not so much was done for us when the technology was emerging. I had a symposium the other day for investors and shareholders in my holding company. I told them, I said, look at the challenge we have. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, for example, has a capital base of 16 trillion naira, which is about $50 billion, right? That's Nigerian capital market. Now, the NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange, is too far. I don't even want to go there. But the Nigerian Stock Exchange was founded in 1960 as Lagos Stock Exchange, which later became the Nigerian Stock Exchange about 7 years later on. In all of these years, its capital base is $50 billion. Now, Apple Computers is just a single company.
Yeah, in America.
Right? Yes, within this same period of time, its capital base as a single company is $900 billion. So when I got interested in the equity world, I first of all realized that if I am to pitch my vision around the Nigerian market, which means I am far below, I can't compete with the global stage. So first of all, the challenge that we have is for you to want to play in the global scale, where you're coming from is first of all a hindrance. So you either have to denounce where you're coming from, either have to go outside of the country and create a new base. Are you saying, sorry, I'm following you step by step. Yes. Are you saying denounce where you're coming from? It's very difficult. Are you saying like denounce being a Nigerian? Well, so many persons have done that in different ways because when you leave your shores and then you create a new life out of your shores. But you have not denounced that. You're actually making all this success here in Nigeria. That's why I told you that these challenges have prepared me. Right, but it doesn't take away the fact that there are still challenges. All right, so because of where you're coming from, first of all, you're seen as a recipient, not to give to the world. And that's why, for example, I watched one of a man I respect so much the other day, and he was talking about. I even had a session, and I was asking everybody sitting there. I said, if you have a Toyota car stand up, they all stood up. If you have a BMW stand up, they all stood up. If you have a Mercedes stand up, they all stood up. I said, which of you is driving any of these cars that is Nigerian specs? They all sat down. So these companies, Toyota most especially, that has its largest market in Africa, doesn't have an African specs. So they don't think about you what they want to create. But you are the dumping ground. So if you want to create a global impact coming from here, there's first of all a challenge because of your roots. Now, looking at the blockchain industry, one of the challenges I also experienced coming into the blockchain era is the fact that blockchain is new. It's not something that has been like we just came to meet. It's new. It's happening right now. It's happening real time. So this is one of the few times in the world where development is taking place at the same time. Wow! It took us almost 2 decades to come into telecommunications. Yes. So this is one of the few times in the world where technology is coming and you have the opportunity because of internet. So internet was just a foundation for the next world to happen. So because of internet, you have access to blockchain. Everyone has access to the knowledge. So I'm asking myself, if this is happening at this real time to the whole world, why should I be a recipient again? So we said, no, let's create something for the world. But this time it's difficult because now the Africans are looking at you and like, well, we've been used to receiving for the past 50 years. So you're saying you want to take to the world. Well, okay, that's great. Okay, we are watching. Yes, we are watching. If you're successful, well, we say, wow, but it's tough. Okay, go. So first of all, it's very difficult because someone asked me some time ago, I was in Dubai, and then I met a couple of partners. And they were excited that this project was coming from Africa and they wanted to be part of it. And which means I had more people outside of Africa believing in the project than we have in Africa. Why do you think so? Someone asked me why. I said it's simple. It's simple. It's difficult to believe in another African because they don't believe in themselves. we have been robbed of the capacity to believe in ourselves over a long period of time. So it's difficult. So when you see someone with your skin color, it's difficult. But guess what? If I'm a young teen, I mean, Facebook, how old was Facebook? But we all embraced it because of where it was coming from. But I can tell you that there are lots and lots of, talented Africans, Nigerians who had such capacities whose project did not see the daylight.
Yeah.
So it's not because they are more intelligent, it's because of the system that they had.
So what do you think, how do you think the system actually frustrates entrepreneurs? I'm sure you've gone through that.
Yes.
Because that's actually what I'm expecting, part of what you share, how the system has actually...
The system has robbed the young people. The system has robbed the young people. I see people struggling in business every day. People apply for our fund, and I see business people. Someone has been in business for 12 years, for 15 years. Yet there's no credit line enough to do business. The bank cannot give him fund. How do he want money? And I'm thinking, you've been in business for 15 years, for 12 years, for 20 years. Now, why can't the bank give you money? The bank cannot give you a bank guarantee, because for a bank to give you a bank guarantee, you have to have that same amount of money in their deposits. So I need 10 billion naira bank guarantee, which means I need to have 10 billion. But if I have 10 billion,
why would
I need a bank guarantee? So the instruments for businesses are not working. They're almost non-existent. Insurance bond is another form of maybe bank guarantee. They're instruments you can use for business. It's difficult. I said, okay, well, I run a fund. I'm not a bank. I'm not a financial institution. So, but if you want monies, provide a bond. And it's difficult. The insurance company cannot also give bond. So these systems and these instruments frustrate businesses every day. Businesses are dying daily. Businesses are dying daily. And guess what? These young people come up. They know that they can't have a life in just a salaried job, but then if they look at the business world, there's also no example to keep, because they see the business people frustrated every day, dying out of businesses every day, closing down of business every day. So you hear the young guy say, well, let me have a job first and then I can be doing business.
And most people do that.
Yes, because there's no hope for the business world. So, you see what I'm saying? But by and large, what this has done is to, first of all, bring these challenges to fore. And then, since the challenges is now to fall, anyone who has an eye to provide solution should key in. That's what I think.
Oh, thank you so much. Finally, how do you think that the youth can actually use this opportunity? You said it's an opportunity.
It is an opportunity.
So how do you think the youth can actually use to embrace this opportunity to remove the image? If the president actually feels that he didn't say all, some of the youths are actually this way. What do you think we can do as youths to remove this image from the likes of the president, who actually think that Nigerians are lazy?
Okay, beautiful. My mentor said something very striking some time ago. He said, you don't defend character. He said, but you defend image. So, if the only way, for example, if you tell me I'm lazy, the only way I can prove to you I'm not lazy is the result I produce.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to chant on the social media and say we're not lazy, I'm not lazy. No, that's not enough. So whatever it is you're doing, whatever enterprise it is you're doing, put your energy to it, put your strength to it, produce results, become outstanding enough for the world to recognize you. The truth is, you do not need the government to become successful. You do not need support from your family to become successful. You don't need all of that. But the truth is, if you had it, it can soften things. But if you don't have it, there are people like I didn't have support from the government. Neither do I have from my parents. I'm like the average young guy that comes up and has debts to also pay, because the parents are calling you are an investment. It's a very wrong mentality. The parents see us as an investment. We are not supposed to be an investment. That's wrong. Well, that's another day's talk.
Yeah.
But they see us as an investor. We need to pay back. But whatever it is you're doing, stay strong to it. Put your energy, put your strength to it. And finally, if you're in business, I used to say it very harsh, but I'm not going to say it here like this. I used to say in my private mentorship class, I said, if you have a business, you don't have a mentor, close shop. Because there's no wisdom making mistake when other people have been successful. There's no wisdom in it. So find a mentor. Find a mentor. I know the challenges most people have sometimes. People say, just imagine, someone is standing in front of me. He has a great competence I need. He has a competence I need to execute a vision, right?
Because I beg to differ, but that's another day story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's your opinion.
Okay. So I say, well, this project is going to be successful. In the next 10 years, this project will be worth this amount of money. Wouldn't you like to be an owner, a 10% owner of this viable project? He sees it, he likes it, he wants to say yes, and suddenly realizes that there's rent to pay. Suddenly he realizes that there's debt so because of all of that, he shortens his mindset and says, I prefer salary. So, but what I want to let you know is that there are also people who have enough of these challenges, in spite of it, still decide to say, well, I know I have this problem, I know I have this debt, I know I have rent to pay, but I'm going to focus and face my vision. And let me tell you, 60% of the time, they become successful. So just stay true to whatever it is you're doing, find a mentor, stay true to your purpose, your vision, and then, of course, you're going to produce results.
Thank you so much. I've been, in essence, you're saying, walk the talk.
Walk the talk, fantastic.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much for being part of DatelineAbuja. I've been talking to ABIKURE TEGA, a venture capitalist, a public speaker, a business mentor and coach, the founder of KURE Funds, a private equity fund dedicated to African startups, a current CEO of KURE Funds, and an employer of labor with over 300 staff. And again, a Nigerian unit. This is DatelineAbuja. Thanks for staying with us.